Oui, comment ça va? Vous êtes content de me voir, c'est sûr? Vous m'avez manqué cet été? Vous m'avez manqué cet été? Ah, OK, mais bonne nouvelle, ils s'en viennent. Alors, good morning, everyone. Bonjour à tous. Over the last number of months, I have held regular discussions with opposition House leaders regarding the creation of a public process which would examine matters related to foreign interference in Canada's elections and democratic institutions. This negotiation, an extent to which we have involved opposition parties throughout the process, is unprecedented. En procédant de manière non partisane, nous voulons démontrer aux Canadiens que les enjeux qui touchent notre démocratie dépassent les considérations partisanes, que la santé de notre démocratie et la confiance des Canadiens en nos processus électoraux est trop important pour en faire une question politique. Today, I can share with you the details of these discussions. The Government of Canada, with the support of all recognized parties in the House of Commons, will appoint the Honourable Marie-Josée Hogue, a judge of the Court of Appeal of Quebec, to lead a public inquiry established under the Inquiries Act. Justice Hogue will be tasked with examining and assessing interference by China, Russia, and other foreign states and non-state actors, including any potential impacts, to confirm the integrity of and impacts on the 2019 and 2021 general elections at the national and the electoral district levels. Le gouvernement du Canada, avec l'appui de tous les partis reconnus à la Chambre des communes, va nommer l'honorable Marie-Josée Hogue, une juge de la Cour d'appel du Québec, afin de mener une enquête publique conformément à la loi sur les enquêtes. La juge Hogue aura pour tâche d'examiner et évaluer l'ingérence de la Chine, de la Russie et d'autres acteurs étatiques ou non étatiques étrangers, ainsi que toute répercussion potentielle de cette ingérence, afin de confirmer l'intégrité des élections générales de 2019 et 2021 et, le cas échéant, les répercussions sur celles-ci à l'échelle nationale et à celle des circonscriptions aussi. Elle présentera un rapport intérimaire d'ici le 29 février 2024 et un rapport final d'ici le 31 décembre 2024. Justice Hogue will have full access to all relevant cabinet documents as well as all other information she deems relevant for the purposes of her inquiry. In addition to examining and assessing interference by China, Russia, and other foreign state and non-state actors, Justice Hogue will also look at the flow of information to senior decision-makers, including elected officials. La juge Hogue aura tous les outils pour aller au fond des choses et suggérer des améliorations afin que nous puissions renforcer nos mécanismes de protection et augmenter la résilience de nos institutions démocratiques. I want to close by thanking Justice Hogue for accepting to take on this important task. She will be able to undertake her important work with the full support of all recognized parties in the House of Commons. Je tiens d'ailleurs à aussi remercier les leaders en chambre des partis d'opposition pour leur collaboration tout au long de ce processus au cours des derniers mois. Our work together sends a clear signal to Canadians that democratic institutions are strong and are resilient. And I'm now obviously very happy
to take all your questions.
Dans votre communiqué, M. LeBlanc, vous parlez clairement, elle pourrait présenter un rapport classifié contenant donc du contenu jugé classifié. À quel point ça va être public, cette enquête-là, si dans le communiqué, déjà, on parle de documents classifiés?
Écoutez, je pense que c'est important de souligner que les termes de référence qui ont établi l'enquête que je viens d'annoncer, tous les mots dans les termes de référence ont été appuyés unanimement par les partis d'opposition. Je pense que c'est ça qui est essentiel pour donner confiance qu'il n'y a pas dans les termes de référence quelque chose qui est anormal, qui est privilégié par le gouvernement. Les partis d'opposition sont d'accord avec tous ces mots et tous ces articles en termes de référence. Cependant, et les partis d'opposition ont bien compris ça, la loi sur la protection des renseignements s'applique évidemment à un processus comme une enquête, et c'est pourquoi la juge Hogue aura, dans son discrétion, à sa discrétion, je devrais dire, la capacité d'aller à huis clos pour examiner des renseignements parmi les plus sensibles, et c'est elle, d'une façon indépendante, qui rendra un rapport aux Canadiens. Elle a toute l'indépendance nécessaire pour arriver à ses conclusions. Et évidemment, le gouvernement va s'assurer qu'elle a accès à tous les documents nécessaires aussi.
Il faut aussi que les échéanciers sont assez courts. Hein? Vous voyez un rapport intérimaire dès février, rapport final au plus tard à la fin 2024. Pourquoi des délais aussi courts? Est-ce que c'est parce que vous voulez que ce soit prêt avant les prochaines élections?
Écoutez, on comprend l'importance d'aller d'une façon expédiée. La juge Hogue était d'accord, évidemment, avec cet échéancier-là quand les hauts fonctionnaires du Conseil privé ont discuté de cela avec elle. On comprend l'importance, je pense, de donner une assurance aux Canadiens que les institutions démocratiques sont en santé, sont résilientes, qu'il y a des mesures en place pour protéger contre une ingérence étrangère, mais il ne faut pas retarder. Je peux imaginer vos questions si on avait possiblement mis ça à une date après une élection potentielle. Nous sommes dans un Parlement minoritaire. On veut que le travail soit bien fait, d'une façon rigoureuse. On croit que la juge Hogue va faire exactement cela, mais on veut évidemment qu'on donne aux Canadiens, dans la mesure du possible, un rapport intérimaire et final le plus vite possible, mais c'est vraiment à la juge Hogue de déterminer la façon qu'elle va procéder.
Does she have the power to push back the timelines? Can she say to you, I need more time for the first report? I mean, you've said it as February 29th. As Commissioner, will she have the power to move the timelines if she judges she needs more time?
Well, obviously, on the day we announced the establishment of an independent commission of inquiry, I'm not going to purport to speak for what the Commissioner may or may not decide at some point. The Commissioner has agreed to the terms of reference, including the deadlines that are set. I assume that in previous commissions, if in her judgment she wants to ask for an extension of time, that would be very much up to her. I'm confident that we can achieve the interim report and the final report. The Commission can achieve, and we can receive the interim report and the final report in the timelines that the orders in Council set out. And again, all of the opposition parties are firmly and completely in agreement with all of those deadlines. So I think that's important to give people the assurance that we worked on this in a rigorous, serious way. We arrived not at a consensus, but at a unanimous agreement on all of those details. And frankly, we look forward to Justice Hogue setting up the Commission of Inquiry and beginning this work.
How much of this will be in public?
Who put Hogue's name forward?
The process to find the appropriate justice goes following a protocol that was established with the Canadian Judicial Council, I think in 2010, in Mr. Harper's government. The government doesn't pick up the phone and call sitting justices to ask what their plans are over the next 18 months. That's not how this process works. We follow the protocol where the chief justices of the relevant courts are consulted. I had a number of conversations over the summer with Chief Justice Wagner, the Chief Justice of Canada. I was very grateful for his advice, his guidance. I shared that advice and guidance with my opposition colleagues. So we think we have arrived, with the full support of the opposition, at the best person to lead this inquiry. Justice Hogue came to us highly recommended by other jurists. Obviously, her Chief Justice, the Chief Justice of Quebec, was very supportive. So we look forward to this work commencing as quickly as she can get the commission up and running.
Will be in public. How much of this inquiry will be in public?
Again, Justice Hogue will decide that. That's what an independent inquiry does. She will decide what particular matters she will hear in camera, what will be public hearings. You'll notice that one of the things that we all thought, the opposition parties and the government, important is that the Commission begin by public hearings so that Canadians will understand why certain highly classified intelligence information has to be treated by law in a confidential manner. The Commission has all of the powers in order to study that information in the appropriate way, and she will, in her judgment, based on the legal advice that the Commission would receive from the Commission lawyers that she will select in her independent way, decide how and what hearings will be made public. So the government is dictating none of that. Justice Hogue will make those decisions, but like all previous inquiries, it'll be done following the law in Canada.
Minister LeBlanc, we know that a lot of interference happens before the writ is dropped. Will this inquiry take a look at what happens in the party nomination process?
Again, the terms of reference were deliberately written to give the inquiry and the commissioner the ability to follow the evidence. That's what an independent judicial inquiry does. So I wouldn't presuppose where Justice Hogue will decide to examine foreign interference activities. We want the inquiry to focus on foreign interference activities in the federal democratic institutions. And she will have all of the flexibility to examine all of these issues and make whatever recommendations she thinks is appropriate.
À mettre en place ces recommandations-là, pour toutes les recommandations qu'elle va vous faire, est-ce que ce sera à temps pour la prochaine élection?
Moi, j'ai déjà dit à ce podium ici que je n'ai pas l'intention de voter non-confiance dans notre gouvernement. Alors, on ne sait pas, on est dans un parlement minoritaire, c'est une bonne question à poser aux collègues de l'opposition. Nous pensons que c'est important d'aller d'une façon expédiée, et c'est ça que la juge Hogue a accepté de faire, selon les termes de référence qu'on a dévoilés aujourd'hui avec l'accord des partis d'opposition. On a hâte de voir ces recommandations. Nous pensons qu'elle peut vraiment donner au gouvernement, notre gouvernement, mais au gouvernement futur éventuel, des suggestions afin de renforcer davantage des mesures que nous avons mises sur pied depuis 2015, que nous avons augmentées et raffinées depuis que nous avons formé le gouvernement. Mais j'annonce il y a 10 minutes que la commission d'enquête va avoir lieu. Je ne peux pas présupposer ces recommandations. J'ai bien hâte qu'elle commence son processus important.
Have any national security experience? Does Justice Hogue have any national security experience?
Justice Hogue is a senior judge of one of Canada's most senior courts. The Quebec Court of Appeal, like the Ontario Court of Appeal, are very influential and important courts in terms of establishing precedents in Canadian law. She is a fluently bilingual senior jurist. We had worked with the opposition parties to identify criteria that we commonly believe would be important for a presiding officer of the inquiry. Obviously, the ability to conduct the hearings in a fluently bilingual fashion was important. We believe Justice Hogue has all of the necessary experience, credentials, and judgment to lead this important work. That view was shared by some of the country's most senior jurists with whom we've spoken. And some of them have suggested that there is value also in finding a senior, credible justice who comes to this issue with a fresh set of eyes, without a series of detailed experiences in this very space. Justice Hogue will not be reviewing particular items that she may have decided as a justice, for example, in the designated list of federal court justices who are regularly involved in some of these very issues. So one of the interesting pieces of advice that we got from senior jurists is that there perhaps is merit to having somebody come to this important undertaking with a fresh perspective, and obviously in her independent judgment, the ability to retain whatever experts, whatever counsel she believes is necessary for the Commission to do its work properly.
Why was the decision made to broaden the scope of the inquiry, to not focus exclusively on China, but to look at other actors?
I'm sorry?
Why was the decision made to broaden the scope of the inquiry, to not look specifically at China or exclusively at China, but to look at other actors as well?
So we have said since we formed the government that foreign interference in Canadian democratic institutions is unacceptable. We have put in place, and you've heard me in the House of Commons, and you may hear me again in the coming weeks, remind you of the important measures we stood up. But we have also acknowledged that China is not the only foreign actor that seeks to undermine democratic institutions in Canada or other Western democracies. This challenge is not unique to Canada. I had a conversation in June with the responsible British minister who talked to me about some of the very challenges they're having. So this is a global challenge for democracies. China is not the only country that seeks to interfere in an inappropriate way. And we wanted the Commission and Justice Hogue to have the ability to follow the evidence, to, as she is brought up to date by our intelligence agencies, as she hears from witnesses, as she discovers that other countries beyond China are also seeking to undermine democratic institutions in Canada and around the world, that she be free to follow that evidence. So we did not want to restrict it to one country alone, and we specifically said in those terms of reference that were agreed to, again, by all of the opposition parties, China, Russia, other state actors and non-state actors, because some of the interference may be by non-state actors that are affiliated with some of these regimes in various ways. So we wanted her to have the independent judgment to follow the evidence and to give Canadians the benefit of her conclusions.
This took forever. This process took forever, Minister. Are you considering any changes to the Inquiries Act?
So, Rafi?
Are the Cabinet and Prime Minister willing to publicly testify?
But again, Justice Hogue hasn't prepared a witness list. We saw with Justice Rouleau's inquiry at one point the Justice and the Commission Counsel prepare a list of potential witnesses. And obviously, we as a government will want to be present and available as she does her work. So I would not imagine that I or my colleagues or senior officials would want anything but to be available and forthcoming with Justice Hogue, should she decide that we can provide some relevant information. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you all in 10 days. Merci beaucoup, or maybe in London, Ontario. Thank you.